Court TV is following two big trials out of South Florida. One day after Maya Kowalski took the stand, a child psychologist is testifying in the Take Care of Maya trial. He said based on his reviews that the hospital misdiagnosed Munchausen by proxy.
What was the effect on Maya of the accusations against her mother of Munchausen by proxy?
Confusion, disbelief, devastation, feeling misunderstood, blamed, victimized, shamed, increase in stress rather than decreasing pain and stress, increasing stress and pain of a psychological and physical nature.
We will get a live report from Chanley Painter coming up a little later on, all about what's been happening inside that courtroom. But first, let's get you straight back to the Boy in a Box trial, where the big question remains: will the defendant, Timothy Ferriter, take the stand in his own defense? His attorneys are expected to rest their case at some point today. Julia, always great to be with you. Now, tell us where we are with this. We know that there is video that the jury is watching. We know there are minors in that video, so we are not allowed to show it. And you are watching it, though, there to tell us what you're seeing.
That's right, Judge Ashley. I will say the defense is expected to rest their case if Tim Ferriter doesn't choose to take the stand. That could change everything. But what they are hearing in terms of the jury from this video right now, it's again a view of the living room, and the date is December 31st of 2021 during the day, so around noon. And they're seeing over and over these images of RF, the child victim in this case, hanging out with his family. And I want to highlight some things that I noticed in this video, that it looks like he's getting up and picking up a bag of food. He's eating out of that bag. His mom is there. She's wandering in and out of the room. It just has a sense, an air of normalcy to it. There's a moment where he gets up again, and it looks like he's getting a snack. And I think showing even that part of this, Ashley, is important for the defense, because there's been this argument that they were withholding food from their son, and that they really flew off the wall when he took too much chocolate at the end of the day for dessert. And so here we see him snacking. It's middle of the day. He's watching a football game, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of restriction to what he's eating, or from him to be able to freely. I'm seeing him walk into the kitchen and then walk back. So you're seeing a teenager who you would expect would be able to have a little bit more control over his diet and not have his parents really on top of him about every little thing. But it looks like they just went to a sidebar there inside of the courtroom. Not sure what the objection is yet, but that's what they were watching right before this this move to that sidebar.
And Julia, let me ask you this. First of all, the food piece is fascinating, because there was also some evidence introduced by the prosecution in this case that the siblings would get treats and snacks, but he would not. And you just describing exactly him using his own free will to get up and get snacks really paints the opposite picture. But if I understand correctly, this video is December 31st of 2021, but the date of incident as alleged in the indictment is a few days before that, I think, December 28th of 2021. And if that's correct, it's curious to me, because this was after, honestly, maybe an argument could be made that they were caught keeping him inside the enclosure.
Well, let me clarify that indictment, because that is an important part. It's a range date of abuse, 6-week period that the prosecution says the abuse was happening. So it started in mid-December and went all the way to, I believe it's January 29th. I'm going to make sure I have that right. You know, we've got so many notes, Judge Ashley. But it was January 30th when the police were there investigating it. So it's, even though that was the beginning of when they say this alleged abuse happened, and we've seen those videos from inside of the enclosure, it is not when they would have known that the police are investigating us, because that didn't happen until January 30th. So this is very early on in that time period that prosecutors say this abuse was going on.
Very important distinction and clarification. Thank you so much for that. And, you know, they're watching football. And, you know, I note in the notes from our incredible field team there that RF, who is the minor victim, alleged victim in this case, that he gets up 5 or 6 times, that the whole time he's getting up and down, and he went and got something to drink. Tim is sitting on the couch relaxing, and even a note that maybe this jury perceives it as the youth can't sit still, and maybe that will lead them to think, well, he can't even sit still watching a game, so it's not unrealistic to believe the behaviors that have been alleged.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. And it's a contrast to what the state put on in their hours. I wonder if jurors will be curious as to why the state only chose the video from the enclosure and didn't show them any video from the living room, which is what we're seeing now. If you're going to give them a complete picture of the life of this child, then this is part of the evidence that the state would have had first before the defense was able to obtain it. Let's listen in. I'm hearing a bit of audio from the courtroom, so maybe our viewers can hear some of what's on that video.
Shop mattress firms here. They delivered fast. Only mattress firms.
But 6 pepperoni pizza. Walk in.
Yeah, I cleaned it all up.
This is the last time we're all going to be together. What? I think that's yeah. Really counted. I would change my bid. But I'm going to feel. I got a big let's go to Rose Bowl game presented by Capital One, Metrec. Kirby's calling it. No pick here. Bears already picked Ohio State. I'm concerned with the wide up. I know they're talented, but they're youthful. They're inexperienced. They'll have a lot of playing experience. So I got to go with Utah. I think it means a lot to them. I'll stay with Utah. I'm going with Utah.
They just did this show yesterday morning in Miami.
I think
I was here on the plane last night. They did this morning at the Grove Bowl.
The physicality. I think really strong. I agree.
That's a bucket list there. Rose Bowl game under their play.
It's a last second field goal.
There you go.
We're showing 2022 right now. The sports don't make a headgear pick from Miami. Oh, wow. Reese, today is New Year's Day.
I'm going to relax watch.
Try to hold Ohio State to under 30 points. You know what? Resolutions never work. I'm going with Bruce, but closer to the day. All right. Happy New Year.
He's going to Ohio State.
The birds flying around him. Don Johnson outfit on. You know how much that scared me for a second.
Yeah.
Here's one more.
There's the Fiesta Bowl. Runaway Fiesta Bowl.
Thanks very much.
There you go.
Welcome to Glendale. New Year's Day.
Glendale, that's the home of Nola softball. Nola.
Their folks take on the Fighting Irish.
Here's another one.
Fiesta Bowl. What a stadium. Marcus Freeman takes the reins. At Notre Dame, Coach Gundy set. Oklahoma State has the Irish first team. Spencer Sanders trying to bounce back from a tough performance in the Big 12. All-American linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez. It's the Cowboys.
Oh, good night.
Chris Butler's going to as I said, for State, right before Notre Dame. They have a new head coach, someone they're obviously very familiar with.
For Marcus Freeman and this program era, previous head coach Brian Kelly. Notre Dame answered the question, can you get back to being a top 5 program? Yes. Now Notre Dame has back Marcus Freeman to take
Yeah.
In the locker room when he was announced. Here it is.
Watch, these guys are pumped when they found his head. This guy was fired. They're super excited. He's their coach. Because he used to be their defensive coordinator. They go home because he was so good. Those players are happy.
The choice. And Chris Budd, you spoke with some of those players this week. Their reactions to their
Of his entire life. Before the school announced the decision, athletic director Jack Swarbrick brought all the captains together. He wanted to know what they wanted out of their next leader. Myron Tagovailoa of the one of the first things we had in mind was we wanted someone in-house to take over. In the short amount of time Coach Freeman's been here, he's cultivated that relationship every day. And to see someone.
Judge Ashley, here's what I'm seeing when we're hearing all of that inside of that home is RF, the child victim in this case, sitting in the recliner. It's a brown leather recliner. Tim is sitting in the two-seater, the love seat couch, and they are just calmly watching this game. There are times that RF will get up, he'll go get a bottle of water and come back and sit down. He kind of seems to do that a lot. Every 2 or 3 minutes, he's standing up, getting up, moving around. And then there's this really just loving and playful interaction between RF and his baby brother. I mean, they are joking around with each other. There are times when they're cuddled up in that same recliner, so the two of them sitting next to each other, playing around, like bumping heads with each other. It's just so stunning how different a scene this is. And, you know, it's not only showing a different dad, but it's showing a different son that the defense wants to argue is a problem as well.
Well, it's fascinating to me, Julia, because to hear, and you used 2 words that really stood out to me. Number 1, they're calmly watching the game, and number 2, the loving interaction between him and his baby brother. And those 2 words do not describe to me a child whose behaviors have been represented to be aggressive and so uncontrollable that he's needed to spend so much time in a box built in the garage. And so it's really 2 opposite descriptions, I think, before this jury.
It really is. This is what they're going to have to grapple with. That's why you're allowed to have a state presentation and a defense presentation, and they're picking the evidence that they put in front of this jury. But at least now they've got a complete picture of this family. Also want to highlight the time period that we're dealing with right now. So this is January 1st of 2022. So that's New Year's Day. This is going to be a holiday. All the kids are home, and perhaps, Judge Ashley, less of a strict schedule for everyone. I know a lot of what we saw in the structure video of inside of his room, where he's in there and out of there, and he's coming home from school, and he's getting up in the morning at a certain time. That seems to be the day-to-day when you have school, when you've got practice, when you've got all of these things going on. And this could be a picture of them when those restrictions and the time schedule isn't as rigorous, and they are all allowed to relax a bit more.
You know, the other thing I noticed is that it again says in the notes, and I know you're observing there and can share with us, that the baby is described and then says that he makes an occasional comment, points at the screen, but there seems to be genuine affection by the baby towards his brother, the alleged victim in this case. And the other thing I would think if I'm watching this is, hey, obviously he's not always locked in the box, because if he was, he would not have developed a relationship with his baby brother, and a baby brother wouldn't know him as someone that he wants to spend time with and has this natural affection for, Julia.
Oh, yeah, that affection is jumping off of the screen. It warms your heart when you see siblings getting along, you see them playing together, and like I said, cuddled up together on the couch. It's jumping off the screen. I'm sure it's very apparent to these jurors. But there are a lot of things they've also heard from the witness in this case, the defense expert, who's talked about his inability to really bond and this detachment that he may have from his caretakers. So you wonder if he's able to show that kind of affection for his sibling, but doesn't have that same kind of affection for his parents. Is that due to the treatment, or is that due to what he experienced before he was adopted. The defense is obviously arguing that this all happened before he was adopted and he wasn't able to form these bonds. But what we're seeing here is, I know they want to show that Tim Ferriter and Tracy Ferriter aren't keeping him in the box in this moment. They're not yelling at him in this moment. But we're also seeing the same demeanor that we really saw from him in the box, which was pretty calm, pretty demure in the way that he is interacting with other people.